Arrival the storm hit Antarctica 3 hours before the aliens landed. At McMurdo Outpost. The wind howled across the frozen plateau, rattling the rusted Cums towers and flattening every snowdrift in its path. Sera Quinn sat by a small, grime-frosted window, watching the darkness press in, her hands wrapped around a tin mug of reheated coffee. She hadn't slept in days, and her eyes felt gritty, her mind jumpy from endless caffeine and the ceaseless worry gnawing in her gut. Antarctica had always been isolated, a last refuge, a scientific frontier. But since the attack started, it had become something else, the last blind spot on a planet that was being systematically conquered from the sky. Sera was the last. Communications officers still transmitting on the southern continent. She listened as, one by one, the rest of the world fell silent. Her radio hissed with static and dying signals. Emergency codes from London. A crackling SOS from Tokyo. Desperate pleas in dozens of languages. All of them ended the same way in silence. She played the last message from her brother again and again, searching for hidden words in the brief burst of static that followed his single haunted warning. Run. She never did. She stayed. Someone had to dot by day. Sera checked her equipment, patched broken cables, and mapped out the ice caves beneath McMurdo. By night, she picked through old logs diaries of long-gone explorers, tales of endurance, tragedy, and impossible hope. It was those stories that gave her strength. 3 days. Into the blackout, her world changed. The static on her radio became a pattern, a low rhythmic pulse, as if someone or something beneath the ice was trying to speak. It was older than any Earth code, pulsing with impossible regularity, echoing like a heartbeat. That's when the sky split open. Over the horizon, lightning flickered blue and violet. Not from a storm, but from the engines of ships that didn't belong on Earth. The first ships were the size of city blocks. Their hulls sleek and silver, traced with alien glyphs. They dropped from the sky in precise formation, carving the clouds apart. Panic swept the outpost, though there were only a handful left researchers. Engineers, 2 weathered soldiers on leave, and a doctor who'd seen too much war in her youth. They gathered in the mess hall, the walls rattling as alien landers descended in the distance. Dr. Malik, her voice calm but her hands trembling, said what everyone feared. They're here for us, or for what's under us. Sera nodded. It's the signal. They heard it too. The aliens landed half a mile from the outpost, scattering the storm clouds with blue fire. The lead ship, so impossibly smooth it looked almost organic, touched down with a thud that rattled plates on the shelves. Steam rose from the landing struts, hissing in the cold. Sera led the survivors into the wind, away from the obvious escape routes. She moved by instinct, following a pattern of the signal pulsing in her radio north, toward the ancient antenna array that had been abandoned for years. The others followed. Dr. Malik, silent and pale. Yan, the Ukrainian mechanic. Private Lewis, the younger of the 2 soldiers, barely more than a kid. And old Stan, the gruff engineer who'd once built icebreakers for the Navy. They found shelter in a buried equipment bunker, listening as the aliens fanned out. Through a narrow vent, Sera watched as 5 tall figures, armored and utterly alien, stalked the ruined outpost, searching for survivors, searching for the source. Inside the bunker, tension grew with every passing second. Ian checked his pistol. Dr. Malik patched up Lewis's frostbitten hand with practiced calm. Old Stan worked silently at a battered generator, trying to give them a chance if they needed to run again. Sera adjusted the frequency on her radio. Chasing the signal. It's getting stronger, she whispered. Whatever it is, it's close. Maybe under the old antennas. Old Stan grunted. There's caves down there. Went exploring when I was bored. Could lose an army in them? Lewis shifted his weight, nervous. Why would aliens come all the way to Earth for an old beacon? Sera didn't answer. The wind howled outside, and the pulse grew louder in her headphones, almost like a voice on the edge of words. Suddenly, the door above rattled. The shadows shifted. Footsteps, too heavy for any human. A shadow blocked the weak red emergency light, and a hiss, like gas escaping a canister, echoed down the stairwell. The aliens were here. Asterisk, the hunt begins. The door to the buried bunker shuddered. Again metal groaning, frost shaking loose. A blue light snaked around the seams, pulsing like a heartbeat. Old Stan and Lewis pressed themselves against the wall, weapons ready. Sera, holding her radio tight, signaled for silence. The signal in her headphones was deafening now, a pulse that seemed to sync with her own fear. The door gave way with a scream of metal. The first alien dropped in, a tall, four-armed figure, encased in armor that shimmered like oil in moonlight. Black, faceted eyes swept the room, scanning. Another followed, then another, moving with a precision that felt unnatural, yet tensed. Old Stan steadied his wrench. Dr. Malik raised a trembling hand, voice barely a whisper. "Please, we're just scientists." The lead alien spoke, voice synthesized and strange. "Human, surrender the beacon. No harm if you comply." Lewis, knuckles white on his rifle, looked to Sera. She shook her head. They wouldn't understand, not what the beacon was, not what humanity would do to protect it. The aliens advanced, weapons rising. Sera saw her chance, a narrow access tunnel to the left. She dove for it, shoving her friends ahead. Blaster fire tore through the room, slicing the darkness with blue heat. They scrambled into the tunnel, ice chips flying, the world behind them, erupting in chaos. Into the maze, the caves McMurdo were endless, carved by millennia of wind and water. Sera led the way, following the ancient pulse. The radio was a lifeline, its static mutating into whispers, memories, hope. They slid, crawled, stumbled through ice-frosted corridors. Dr. Malik guided Lewis, whose hand bled steadily. Yan muttered prayers in Ukrainian. Old Stan cursed every bump and twist. Above. The aliens moved with terrifying speed, their scanners searching for warmth, their movements echoing through the tunnels. The sound of their boots always just behind. Never far enough away kept the humans moving. Sera paused in a wide chamber, where centuries-old stalactites sparkled like glass. She tuned the radio, seeking a direction. "We can't keep running." Jan panted. Sera nodded. "We're close. I can feel it." A distant rumble and explosion from the surface. The aliens weren't the only ones hunting. They pressed on, deeper into the labyrinth. Toward the heart of the signal, the alien perspective above. Inside the lead ship, Commander Vexilone watched the hunt unfold through a shimmering display. His species, the Naruan, had come to Earth not out of conquest, but of fear. The pulse they'd detected, a pattern they'd only seen once before, had wiped out entire fleets in ancient wars. He sent a private message to his second-in-command. "We must neutralize the beacon before it awakens. Humanity cannot be allowed to remember what it truly is." Vexilone's own soldiers trembled. The legend said that when the beacon awakened, even the stars would tremble. Yet, as he watched the humans on the screen bleeding, exhausted, determined, felt something unexpected. Doubt, revelation in the ice. The caves grew colder, the walls smoother, almost metallic. The signal was deafening now, a symphony of voices layered over centuries. They reached a vast cavern, its floor split by a glowing fissure. At the center, a round metallic object, half buried, covered in ancient human symbols and unknown markings. The beacon. Sera felt her knees touching its surface. It was warm, impossibly warm in the Antarctic cold. As she touched it, the beacon pulsed. Images flashed in her mind. The first humans huddling around fire, soldiers holding trenches under alien bombardment, the mothers cradling children in bombed cities, explorers carving paths through frozen wastelands. The others stared in awe. The beacon was more than metal. It was memory, pain, hope, humanity itself. Crystallized. The aliens burst in, weapons drawn. "Surrender." The lead trooper barked. "Deactivate the beacon." Sera shook her head, eyes shining with tears. "You don't understand. It's not a weapon. It's our story." She pressed her palm to the beacon. Light exploded outward, flooding the cavern. Memories and resistance. The beacon's energy swept through the aliens and humans alike. Each was gripped by visions, memories not their own struggles, sacrifices, the fierce will to survive. Commander, Vexilon watching from above, staggered as he was swept up in the current. He saw through Sera's eyes her brother's last smile, her mother's hands, the moment she chose not to run. He saw old Stan teaching children to build and fixing engines during war. Malik risking her life for strangers. The aliens faltered. Their armor flickered. Some dropped their weapons, overwhelmed by the flood of memories. For the first time, they saw humans not as threats, but as mirrors creatures who loved, suffered, endured. Sera stood, the beacon blazing behind her. You came here afraid. You thought this was a weapon. But our real power is right here in every story, every loss, every hope. The last stand a squad of fanatical Neroan, their minds shielded from the beacon, charged. Old Stan and Lewis fought them off, ice shattering underfoot. Yan used the last of his ammo to save Dr. Malik, who shielded Lewis with her body. The cave began to tremble. The beacon's light carved new fissures in the ice. Sera shouted over the roar. We have to warn the world. The beacon must be heard by everyone. She tuned her radio to the global distress frequency. Her voice, amplified by the beacon, echoed across continents. This is Antarctica. This is Sera Quinn. We're still here. The world is not alone. Remember who you are. Stand. Fight. All over the planet, radio sparked to life. Human voices old and young, ragged and strong answered her call. Alien collapse and human uprising. Commander Vexilon watched as his own soldiers refused to attack. Struck by the flood of empathy, he sent an urgent signal. Retreat. Leave Earth to its people. The signal, it is not meant for us. On the surface, human resistance, sparked by Sera's broadcast, grew fierce. Survivors in bunkers, children in ruins, rebel soldiers in burning cities all rose up. United by the memory of endurance, Vexilon gave the order. Withdrawal. His second can protested. We cannot leave them free. Vexilon, his voice heavy with new understanding, replied, If you want to face the full memory of what humanity has survived, stay. I will not. The alien fleet retreated, ships peeling away from Earth's skies as the beacon pulsed the final. Time, its light spreading hope, not fear. Aftermath. Dawn on the ice. The storm finally broke. Dawn shimmered over the Antarctic wastes, in a shattered cavern. Sera helped her friends to their feet. Lewis, wounded but grinning, saluted. Yan and Malik embraced, crying with relief. Old Stan sat beside the beacon, staring at his reflection. In the metal, lost in thought above ground, the world stirred. Radios played songs of resistance, poems, and stories. Humanity, wounded but unbeaten, remembered itself. Sera took the battered transmitter and sent one last message to whoever is out there on Earth. In the stars we remember. We endure. You cannot erase us. We are humanity. The beacon's pulse faded to a gentle glow. Its work done. Far away, among distant stars, the story was heard. Other worlds took courage from the tale of Earth's survival. And beneath the endless sky, Sera Quinn, last comes Tech of McMurdo, stood on the ice and smiled. The weight of all humanity at her back. The end.